Your past tense. I found your pages dull and heavy to flip through, so I did the unthinkable. I jumped ahead in the story. And I didn't just finish this chapter prematurely, I moved on to another book altogether. I burned all your volumes. You never had much spine anyway.
Nah.
This one was inspired because of a local poet. If you really wrote it, then by all means post it. If it's not something you wrote, then please put it in quotes. If you do know who said it, then damn it, give them credit, because if you stole it, I'll make sure everybody knows it.
Snaps.
Bang, bang.
True story.
That's right.
True story. All right, this one's called Dinner Clocks. If clocks were dinner plates, I would devour all your minutes and be gluttonous with your moments. I could survive for all eternity, fed only by the few occasions I've spent with you, but I'm greedy. I can never seem to get enough of your time. Every second spent with you is a sweet come-hither smell that awakens my appetite for another morsel of your company. Minutes make my stomach growl. Hours satisfy temporarily. Days do even better, but forever sticks to the ribs. So please, prepare me a meal, fix me a plate, fill my belly with every last one of your flavors, feed me, and I promise I'll eat every bite. This one, I can't take with so much credit for this. There's a poet named Jeanann Verlee who has a poet called 40 Love Letters. So I kind of structured this after hers. It's called 30 Overdue Letters. Dear Lily, I still feel you. Dear Cynthia, you were my first true love. I was your first everything. Thank you for choosing me. Dear Emily, you were a Band-Aid for a bullet wound. I'm sorry for how quickly I had to yank you off. Dear Helen, I was just a 7-Eleven. Quick, convenient, with my doors always open to you. Dear Clarissa, you taught me how not to be loved. Dear Lynn, that's what I taught you. Dear Vivian, the best thing about you was a poem you inspired. Dear Shelley, you were crazy. Dear Amber, you were crazy. Dear Erica, you were crazy. Dear Lisa, you made me crazy. Dear Lily, I still feel you. Dear Crystal, I let you play hopscotch with my heart for years. I finally took your chalk away. Dear Michelle, Dear Michelle, it's too bad you live so far away. I could never travel long enough to reach that place in your mind. Dear Kimberly, you expected too much too soon. I guess that's my fault for ignoring it when you named our child on our first date. Dear Tanya, we were never meant to stay. I'm sorry that took so long for both of us to get. Dear Gina, I still don't know why you left, but I finally stopped wondering. Dear Beth, I could never write a check big enough to pay for the sins of your exes. I had to bounce. Dear Francis, I'm so happy that our friendship survived us. By the way, I'm done with that book you let me borrow. I'll bring it by tomorrow. Dear Chloe, you were a mistake I just kept making. I finally corrected the behavior. Dear Nancy, you never loved me as much as you loved my poetry. Dear Lily, I still feel you. Dear Sandy, I loved you despite how much you hated yourself. Dear Laura, I loved you despite how much you hated me. Dear Lacey, you liked all the same things I did, including women. Dear Jessica, you spent too much time waiting to be ready and not enough time getting prepared. Dear Liz, your daughter was my age. I wasn't as hung up on it as you were. Dear Danielle, your family couldn't get past the color of my skin. Dear Grace, what we were was beautiful, just like sandcastles and rainbows and most other temporary things. Dear Lily, I still feel you, dear Lily. On some mornings, I still wake up with my arms around your ghost.
Oh.
This last one, if I could be so conceited as to say it's my personal favorite of what I've written lately. Mostly, because I took myself out of my typical box. If I'm not writing about being in love or having my heart broken, it's like I don't write. So this is called Dear Scar.
Touché.
Dear Scar, your brother must have cast such a heavy shadow. They always loved him best. You, always discarded like the bones in an elephant graveyard, forever the butt of a cruel joke. It's no wonder you found yourself at home among the cackles of hyenas. Years of being outcasted cast an evil over you, waiting on the day that you would gain dominion over everything the light touched, but the throne you grew so impatient for would never be yours.
Concept.
You devoured anger and envy like wounded zebras. Brutally and without much effort, you swallowed your pride until it rocked you from the inside. You plotted, premeditated, calculated. You challenged the throne. You killed the king. You murdered your brother and convinced his son it was all his fault. Took by force the kingdom you so coveted finally. The taste of power graced your bloody grimace, but it wasn't enough to wash the bitterness of your betrayal. Scar. You stole pride from the Pride Land, Scar. You allowed laughing bandits into the temple, Scar. You enslaved and stole food from the mouths of your own people, Scar. You were a special kind of monster. I wonder what it felt like when you fell under the snarling bite of comeuppance. When karma's claws ripped into you raw with retribution, I wonder, did you hear yourself whisper, "Long live the king"?
Wow.